Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm very excited to have this gentleman on the show. He is retired Sergeant Bert Maverick Gonzalez, 37-year veteran, frontline veteran of Miami-Dade Police. He's got a podcast, new podcast out. We're going to talk about a book and some other stuff. Welcome, Bert. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I always ask first responders, and I'm going to ask you the same thing, Bert. What made you get into law enforcement? Long time, 37 years. What was the catalyst? What was the thing that said, hey, I want to be a cop?
I think it was always there in the background somewhere because the first thing that I wanted to do was become a professional soccer player. I was a damn good sweeper in high school and college. And unfortunately, I went to a little college, Western Connecticut State, where nobody saw me. Right? And I was named to the New York Empire State team as the best defender in New York State when I was 18. So I thought I had a shot. I didn't. So and when at that time, just before I turned 18, my father, I told him I want to go to Fort Lauderdale and try out for the Strikers. Right at that time, we had the New York Cosmos, the North American Soccer League, and the coach wrote me back, and he said, "Go to college. We'll find you there." Apparently, they didn't look for me. Okay. So, all right, time to move on. I moved to Miami after my family did. I started college up there, and then I said I had enough, and I moved, followed my family. And my first job here was as a security officer. I didn't want to go to school anymore. I was tired of school. I didn't like school. So I became a security officer while I was trying to find myself, find my way. And then I had a lot of interactions with Metro-Dade Police, the county police here, even though it wasn't technically called the sheriff's office then, but it is the sheriff. And inside our badge, it has the sheriff's deputy in it or a sheriff's star. So I had a lot of interactions with them. And as it turned out, the neighbor directly behind my parents' house was a Metro-Dade sergeant. So we got to know each other, kicked the soccer ball around a little bit, and it just started working on me. What do I really want to do? And I started thinking about it more and more. So in 1982, I applied to Metro Police and Metro Fire. Those are the only two agencies I applied for because that was it. It was either those were the two premier agencies, to use a word to describe the way it was compared to all the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not disparaging the other ones. I'm just saying Metro-Dade was the place to be, whether
Yeah.
police or fire. And I did all the tests for the fire department. And at that time, going through the physical test for the fire department was pretty tough. The police department, not so much. But in the police department, you have the 1,000 questions psych exam, right? Are you crazy? You're not crazy, all that.
Do you like your mother?
Yeah. Well, I think I was asked if I loved my mother, hated my mother or father about
Do you like
18
fire?
times. Yeah, right. So in January of 83, I had my final interview with Metro-Dade Fire. And the chief in charge of hiring told me, "You're hired. Next fire college class, you're going in." Okay, great. At least I'm going to be a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks later, my background investigator for the police called me and he said, "You're starting the academy February 8th.
The choices.
And honestly, I wanted to be a cop more than I wanted to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how that happened. And I remember now, I don't know a lot about your personal background, but I'll give you a little bit of mine. I was married back then. I'm on number 3.
Oh, well, let me tell you, buddy, I'm starting another number 3.
Okay. Third time's a charm because with my current wife, my last wife, Rosie, we'll be together in August, 22 years.
Hey, congratulations.
So we're both on our thirds and, third time's a charm. But when I first said I wanted to become a cop with my first wife, she said, "If you do that, I'm going to divorce you." So I put it off for about 6 months. Right. And I said, no. I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. this seems to be the job for me. And then I finally said, divorce me if you want. I divorced her later on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that happened. And I became a Metro-Dade cop in, February of 1983.
Yeah. Wow. That's, you would think that, I mean, of course, I'm not trying to, a spouse would back you up in what you wanted to do. I mean, but I can't imagine what you have seen, Bert, especially in a big place like, Metro-Dade or Miami-Dade now, in the last 37 years. I mean, I was a cop for 23, long time. You did longer, but you also work in a very, very large agency, population-wise. And maybe this is too broad of a question, but I'll ask you anyway. So much has changed in the world. What has changed? I know you retired. Thank you again for your service in 2020.
Thank you.
How much has changed in your view of the world in law enforcement?
The example that I like to cite when people ask me, what was it like being a cop, during that time and transitioning to this time? So in 1983, we had the Cocaine Cowboys down here.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, movies and books and documentaries and everything about them. And I'm going to tell you, Patrick, it was actually a fun time to be a cop. And cop humor. And
Oh, yeah.
in my book, I write, the parentheses, cop humor, CH, after certain passages and things that I say, because the layperson has, they have to understand that we have that really edgy humor to us because we have to, right?
Dark humor.
Yeah, exactly. So literally we were finding bodies every day. The dopers were all killing each other. We had some big shootings and things like that. And you learned a lot really fast.
Yeah.
But at that time, we all carried 6-shot revolvers with 12 extra rounds and speed loaders on our gun belts, right? And then maybe you had a 12-gauge shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Where the dopers had Mac 10s, Mac 11s, Uzis, you name it, whatever. And we were the guardians of our community. And that's what everybody looked at police at. We were the guardians. We were not soldiers, not yet. And to get into those situations with bad guys, and the training was always geared to, watch your target turns, put 2 in the target, reholster. And it was a flaw in our training because you'd reholster and the shooting's not over.
Exactly.
That's how we changed, right? We had a canine officer that got into a shooting because muscle memory, he fired 2 and they put it away. Finally, in 1989, my department, along with the others, started transitioning into semi-autos. And that's where it began. And then as time went on, I saw us transitioning from the guardian, the community guardian, to the guardian warrior, and now mostly warrior.
Yeah.
Because my last few years before I retired out of Miami International Airport Station, I had a tactical squad in our intracoastal station. So we, for the detective unit and other units around the department and other departments, we go find the bad guys for them. So we didn't wear the traditional uniform, but we wore tactical vests. And then the department bought rifle plates for all of us, to put on under your vest or the carrier and then the rifle plate. And then we were carrying rifles. We're carrying 223s. And I just saw how we transition. And one day in a family gathering at my house, at our house, I brought out all my weapons. I go, this is what I started with in 1983. And look where I'm ending up with, right? And we have Kevlar helmets, just like the military does, and like SWAT teams and special response teams. I mean, it is crazy the way things have changed. We're no longer the guardians of the neighborhood. Like in New York, they still wear the 8-point hat and all that.
Exactly.
Before I started, guys had to get out of the car and put their hat on, no matter what. No, You can't do that. It's not practical. And fortunately, my department never said, like the Florida Highway Patrol, when they reached a certain point in December, they had to put on the long sleeve and tie
Yeah.
because it was cooler during that period of time. It's still hot in South Florida. In Florida. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? Any time of the year, long sleeve and tie doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, they had to modify as well. They had to change as well. But we transitioned to more of the basic police style work into combat. And all our training was geared towards combat now.
And
Right?
you're right, Bert, because if you look at like the same thing when I was a young cop. I mean, uniform, obviously the vest underneath, but now they're wearing outer vests and tack vests and magazines all over the place. And
Right.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's very militaristic looking,
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
maybe that's the look that they
That's the
want.
right term. That's the right term.
Yeah.
We now look more like soldiers than we did like
Yeah,
traditional.
absolutely. And I understand the reason, and the vest, the tactical vest, the outer vest, you could take it off easily and all that stuff. But I see some of these guys driving around, and God bless them, they're serving their communities, but they get out of the car and they get all kinds of shit on them.
I had the tactical vest on. I had the rifle plate stuffed in the front. So my vest carried my soft body armor, and then I
Hmm.
had space for the rifle plate in front
Yeah.
because I didn't wear the rifle plate in back. The assault or the threat's generally going to come from the front, and then it gets too heavy
Yeah.
to be wearing it all day. Not like an SRT team doing an operation where, once they lock it down,
Yeah.
they
You're
can take
taking
their
it off.
stuff off, right?
Yeah.
But when you're doing it all day long, especially in our heat,
Yeah.
when especially during the summer, um, it is difficult. But on the outside of my vest, I had the extra 223 magazine. I had three 22 round extended magazines for my Glock 17 on my gun belt. And then the radio, I had it here on an outside carrier, with the shoulder mic, so I can just click like this and talk. If I had to handle
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
scene, do something, I can keep my eyes on what I got to do. And I hate when cops do this. Yeah, go ahead like that. And then the punch is coming this way,
Yeah.
right? Because they're turning their head.
Yeah. Exactly.
But inside that radio holder, I had a 4-inch push dagger stuck in there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you why. When people ask me, what's that? Because you know, what a push dagger
Hmm.
handle looks like. So I pull it out and they go, well, what is that for? I said, that's my gun retention weapon. They go, what do you mean? I said, all the gun retention training that you've gone through at the academy and then in service with all the guys at the range, whenever they put you through the paces, what do you have to do if someone grabs your gun? You need to put your hand on your gun and hold it in the holster and then fight with your other hand.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So you're basically holding on to your gun with one hand while the subject can use two hands. So while he's doing that, going for my gun, what is he going to do if he gets your gun? Is he going to pull it out and go, oh, nice, officer, very nice
Yeah.
gun?
It's a very nice clock.
Yeah, exactly. You keep it very clean. No, they're going to shoot you with it. So if he's going for my gun, it's deadly force already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can pull the dagger out with my left hand and do what I have to do. Now, for the audience, I'm glad I never had to do that.
Yeah.
Because in the academy in '83, we learned 50% of all officers shot at that time were shot with their own gun.
Yeah.
And I promised myself, no one's ever going to take my gun from me. And our 3-foot world, as everybody calls it, military
Yeah.
and police. No one ever got inside that 3-foot world of mine. You can't reach for my gun. I'm not going to let you do it. So I never had to test that. I've been in plenty of fights,
Mm.
but fortunately, I never had to do something like that. I'm glad I didn't have to do it because nobody really wants to do that.
Yeah.
Some of the public would look at us, they call us Nazis and fascists and stone cold killers. No, we're not like that. We have to defend ourselves and we
Yeah.
have to defend others. So, but I really think that's how we've changed over the decades.
Yeah.
And I have to say, almost 4 decades of police work, I've got to see the transition where we were halfway through and where we are now, and kind of speculating where we're going.
Where do you think we're going, Bert, with this? I mean, again, that's a broad term, but as far as like, let's just say, because it seems like we're more. I mean, look, and let me preface for the audience. I think the vast majority of people out there support the brave men and women who serve. I wish they were more vocal about it because it seems like they get drowned out by the idiots out there that hate the cops for whatever reason. But it seems like we're becoming more us against them kind of stuff. And this is the media and all kinds of other shit. But
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Do you think it'll swing back around? And again, that's not an indictment on law enforcement. I think some communities are closer to the community than others. I guess it's all kinds of different factors that come into that. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, politics plays a role
Yeah,
in this,
absolutely.
right? So you have retired to what we're like to call the free state of Florida, right? And we're very proud of our governor
Yeah.
because he doesn't put up with this
No.
nonsense that's going
No.
on around the country. And we, as a police culture here in general, we don't put up with that.
No.
You don't get to put hands on us and then walk away. It's just not going to happen. It's not allowed. When we had the jail ward at the hospital, we used to call it Ward D for Dade County Jail at Jackson Memorial Hospital, the county hospital. So anytime a prisoner was injured, you had to take them there first. If it wasn't, like an emergency room visit, but just minor injuries because of a scuffle or, something like that. So we would say, you raise your hand to us, you're going to Ward D before you're going to the main jail.
Yeah.
We're not going to deal with it. Now, when I've heard colleagues say, nobody likes us or respects us, I do what you just said. I go, no, 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 stop right there. The majority of the people in the U.S. support
They
law
do.
enforcement.
They
They're
do.
just not vocal about it.
Absolutely.
It's the squeaky wheel syndrome that gets all the play, right? All the grease. And I really do think because of the way the media hypes up all these incidents that happen around the country, the 574 peaceful protests in 2020 in the summer of love, right? And the officers have to deal with it. They got hurt. Thousands of officers were injured during that year. It's just the minority, the very vocal and violent minority, that acts that way.
Absolutely.
Most of the people in this country absolutely support us. So I never let any of my colleagues get away with saying that. Stop right there, because
They do.
you're going to
The
get thanked. People are going to say thank you,
and
right?
you think about, and what I tell people too, Bert, and you made a really good point is, and you know this, think of all the interactions cops from all around the country make on a daily basis. Tens and thousands interactions. How many of those interactions end up in deadly force or any type of use of force? A very, very small percentage.
Did,
I mean, so we're doing it. We're doing a good job in a very difficult environment.
right, right.
When there's a shooting or an OIS, of course, it's going to be under the microscope, and then everybody, the cops are, media is out there. The cops are shooting everybody. It's not the case. It is
I
not the case.
you mentioned my book, and
Yes,
I know we're going to talk about it, but it sounds like you already read some of the pages in it,
I did.
because I use the example of the hundreds of thousands of police citizen interactions every
Oh, it's
day
every day.
that you don't hear about, right?
Absolutely.
Even if there's a fight, a physical altercation with police and a subject, they go to jail, they go to the hospital, you never hear about it. It wasn't really deadly force. It doesn't make the news. No one knows, right? The sausage is getting made every day and no one ever sees it. And let's face it, our public doesn't want to see the sausage get made,
No.
because I use that terminology in there as well. But 100%, everything daily, nothing, hopefully nothing of great importance happens. But that one case that makes the news, and then they pick it up and run with it because two of their favorite sayings that I used in the book for the media: if it bleeds, it leads, and if it burns, it earns.
Yeah.
And that's what they want.
Yeah.
And in one of my chapters in the book, I have a subchapter called Media, the True Enemy, because I really think that they pit everybody against each other. And it's, let's face it, for law enforcement, it's us against everybody else all the time.
Absolutely.
And it's not a fair fight. I just wrote an op-ed for Jessica's ThinkAmerican.news, Celebrities versus Cops. How they have the platform, they have the bully pulpit, the mic that everybody sticks in their face because they want to hear what they're thinking and what they're feeling because they're a celebrity, especially athletes. I think they need just to shut the unit
yeah,
up.
shut the hell up, play sports.
Right. But we're always from behind, and I guess that's okay. We're just going to continue to be professionals and do our job and protect and serve everybody, regardless, right? When you have politicians speak out against us, and I'll go back to 2020 and Bender, the president of the Minneapolis City Council, where in the wake of the George Floyd riots, his death and everything that happened, she got on the news locally, which of course made the national news, that it's a privilege to have police respond to your neighborhood. And what are you talking about? It's a privilege. What she was saying was white privilege to have police respond to your neighborhood when you call them. And I said, you know, in all my time answering calls, whether it was as an officer or as a sergeant with my officers or just in general, I don't ever remember getting a call on the radio and saying, you know, I don't think I want to go to that one.
Yeah.
Right? No, not today. Don't feel like it.
You respond no matter what. You respond no matter.
But those statements are so damaging to us.
Well, of course.
You know, and they get away with it.
And I remember a time, Bert, I mean, I'm 56, but I remember a time growing up in Colorado where even if I'm talking about the media, in the context of the media, the politicians, they might not like law enforcement, but they would never openly bash them. Maybe they did, but not to the point we're at today. And you're exactly right. So people listen, no matter what side you're on, people are going to listen. And you're right. When you start bashing the brave men and women out there who protect us every day, and I want to get into your perspective on mental health in a minute, it's ridiculous. In fact, the poorer areas, you know this, the poorer areas, when they started talking about defunding the police, the first people that started complaining in a lot of these, you know, these suburbs and these areas, that they were like, where are our police? Where are our police? Why are you defunding the areas that people, the politicians thought that the police didn't want to go or the communities didn't want them to go? They were the first ones to say, when they started the whole defund the police movement, what happened to the police? I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, are we, and I tell people, are we perfect? No. Do we have bad apples? Of course. But the vast majority of law enforcement, men and women, are doing a hell of a job. 99% of them.
And see, that's the caveat, is that when you and I have to defend our profession or others that are pro law enforcement, and I'll use a couple of the hosts on Fox News, for example, when they start talking about us, and Hannity comes to mind. He's a big supporter of law enforcement.
Absolutely.
But he'll say to his guest, whoever it is, well, 99% of cops are all good and everything like that. You never hear that term used about politicians, do you?
That's a good point. You don't.
Right? Right. It's only about us. Ours is the only profession you ever hear that caveat used for. So, yes, we have bad apples. And I can tell you that down here during the 80s, with all the drug money that was floating around, hundreds of millions of dollars were funneled through the
Yeah.
streets of Miami, and we would come across it in our investigations, and just sometimes you know how police work is.
Oh
You
yeah.
just get lucky sometime, and you got the whole ball of wax, right? When I was in plain clothes in 84 or so, we were working driveway robberies in one of our more affluent areas where they were getting followed home from the big stores, the fancy stores, Bloomingdale's and Neiman Marcus and all those, and getting robbed in their driveways. So the plainclothes squad that I was on, we were assigned to do the surveillances in those areas. And then we had extra officers that we needed to supplement our squad. Well, long story short, one night Mark and I came across, just fell into it. Two suspicious guys at a house in an affluent area. We turned around, came back, they were gone. Wait a minute, red flags. Called in the rest of the team, did a surveillance. We found the two guys sitting in what we called then the Florida room behind the house where the patio was. The Florida room is like an extra living room in Florida houses. Joe was talking to the lady of the house at the front door, and she said, "There's no men here." And I'm looking at them. They don't see me and Mark, but we're looking at them from the back. It was a drug house.
Oh.
We found $1,300,000 in cash in garbage bags. We found a ledger book. We found suitcases with coffee grounds in them. We found Mac 11 machine guns, and we found those acetylene gas tanks that they used to drop from the airplanes with the drugs. And it was a dope house with a Colombian family living in it. And then when we sent the book to the DEA, they broke the code, and it was Milan, Italy, Colombia, and Miami in a real estate office doing that, right? So, but this was common at that time. Oh, most important part, 208 kilos of cocaine in the attic. And at that time was the biggest seizure in Dade County history.
Wow.
It went to tons years down the road after that, like coming in through the port of Miami or something like that. But the money was so prevalent, and some of our guys couldn't help themselves.
Yeah.
And going back to the mid 2000s, I played tennis with one of our lieutenants. We were pretty good friends. We played tennis quite a bit. And next thing you know, DEA is arresting him for guarding shipments for drug dealers. And we all went, "Oh, wow." We're all shocked.
Yeah.
And I've said this recently. I know at the time the way they work. They have to contact their prosecutors, the state attorney's office here in Dade County, and of course our internal affairs, right? They looked into anybody that was associated with him, and I know they looked into me, into my bank accounts to see if I had, extra money in there, hundreds of thousands or whatever, to see if I was dirty because I was associated with him. All I did was play tennis with him.
Yeah.
And when they saw that I didn't have two nickels to rub together to my name, no, he's not involved. Okay.
Yeah.
But we have that.
Yeah.
And every department has that. And yes, we have some bad apples, but back to the point. The overwhelming majority of people that take this job do it because their heart's in the right place, and they'll never tarnish the badge, at least not,
absolutely
on purpose. So
yeah, this isn't the, I get tired of some people. We're not living with Serpico anymore. This isn't the SNAP commission and all this other shit that happened. Like you said, does corruption happen? Yes, but the vast majority of people out there are good people, just trying to take care of a family, trying to do a very difficult job.
Exactly.
But let's go back to I wanted to touch really quick, Bert, and get your take. You mentioned peer support teams before we started. So much has changed. I divulged to you, I told you a little bit, and I'm pretty candid about it on my show. I went through treatment, I was going through a rough period. Now I work in behavioral health, blessed to do that. Mental health for first responders has changed tremendously in the time that I was in. I remember going to like a critical incident. You've gone to plenty of them, stabbing or whatever, shooting, and it was do your paperwork, get back on the street. Now, I think we still have more work to do, but I think we've come a long way with recognizing you tell me if I'm wrong, PTSD trauma in doing, again, not every agency. Some agencies do this, while other agencies are pretty proactive in taking care of their
Right.
people. But I think we still have a long way to go. But I think we're mental health, brother. You know this is so huge now with first responders. So many, for about 40% of first responders out there right now listening are suffering from PTSD trauma, alcohol, substance. Usually it's both. And that's the number we know about. So the number's probably much higher. And it's out of control, brother. And I feel bad for the, first responders out that are suffering. And you do this stuff too. So
Just recently, one of my former colleagues, and I'm going to say about 6 weeks ago or so, took her own life.
yeah, horrible.
None of us ever knew. We didn't know if she was having any issues or whatever. And all of a sudden, she kills herself. We have come a long way, but yes, back in our early days and everything, do your paperwork, get back out on the road, handle the next one, handle the next one, handle the next one. Regardless of what's going on with you personally or at home, if you're experiencing problems, and you know how it can be, especially maybe you're the sole breadwinner for the family, you got a young family and you've got to provide, you're working all the time, and there's no outlet. And especially as men,
yeah,
we can't show weakness, right?
Nope,
We've got
nope.
to handle everything, right? And that's the way I was also. I worked most of the time. I missed birthday parties, and
Yeah, so did I.
well, I always joke that sometimes there were other kids' birthday parties that my family was going to that, oh, I got to work, I can't go, oh, sorry, I got to work, but
I could go, honey.
yeah, exactly. But we didn't have an outlet really to reach out that we were comfortable with. Now, Miami-Dade, Metro-Dade Police in the late 70s started a psychological services unit. And it was kind of one of the early departments to do that because most departments didn't have anything like that. And you could go voluntarily, and it's confidential, and speak to somebody, speak to a staff psychologist. The problem is that because it's a part of the department, many officers don't trust it.
Absolutely.
So therefore, they don't go. And even to this day, I hear that. No, I can't go. It's called health services now, or it changed the name from psych services to try to soften it up a little. But many still don't trust it because if the department sent you because you were having issues,
yeah, word's going to get out.
Yeah, those reports are not privy anymore, and the department can see them because they sent you, right? You went involuntarily. But people don't trust the system. So you got to have other places to be able to go to. I mentioned to you that I'm part of the Miami-Dade multi-agency peer support team.
Yeah, love that.
Where you can call the phone number and a peer gets assigned to you that's trained in order to help you cope with whatever the issues are. It's not just blindly. You have to get through an interview process, and you have to get trained. And then it could be just a phone call that's required, just to be able to talk for half an hour or an hour to somebody so you can just let it out.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to get together, you have to respond, and go spend some time. And it's open to officers and their families, not just the officer, right? And the peer support also responds to incidents like the Champlain Towers in Surfside that came down.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine the horror that the fire and officers saw there, right? And I have friends that worked at it. I was already retired, but I have a lot of close friends still on the job that worked at, and one of them was a major who was, since it was in his district, he was the police commander for the command post, along with the fire department. And I can't imagine seeing something like that. Of course, we all would have done our jobs. We would have handled it. But then what is the aftermath when you see something like that? Like 9/11 in New York. I can't imagine. Those are the bravest guys and gals that I've ever seen, because they knew when they went into the towers, they probably weren't coming out. But then the survivors, I'm a supporter of Tunnel to Towers.
I
I've
love
been
Tunnel to Towers.
donating to them, and on my own podcast. I have it on my own website, Tunnel to Towers, and St. Jude's, because I have a friend they had to go to St. Jude's for their son who had cancer. And everything you heard about St. Jude's is the same thing. So imagine using that as an example. My buddy Joey, he's got to do his job, and his kid is sick. Where does he go? Where's the outlet? Who does he talk to? Him and his wife spent all that time together worried about little Joey, and no one else to talk to outside the family. And then you got to do your job. So there's so many facets to it. And I'm glad that we've come as far as we have. But when you were first previewing the topic, I started thinking back to where it really started to kick off. And I think it started to kick off with our returning vets from Iraq and Afghanistan, where now it's on TV all the time, and it's segued into first responders. And I'm sure you did too. I had a lot of guys in my department that are reservists. That got called up. Fortunately, none of them got killed or, seriously injured or anything, and they all made it back. But not only police work in a place like South Florida, where it's like this all the time, they saw combat as well. So I can imagine how those guys are feeling.
Yeah.
And if you make the phone call and I can just provide a little while for you to talk to, or come and get a cup of coffee with you, so frankly speaking, you don't put a gun in your mouth.
Yeah.
Then, we've accomplished something. And I think there's so much more that we need to do. We need to get the word out to tell
Absolutely.
cops and firefighters and soldiers there's people to talk to, there's people to reach out to, so you don't do that. And then it drove it home with our colleague just a few weeks back, when my son called me to tell me that she killed herself.
It's horrible.
I was shocked.
Horrible.
And then I had mentioned Hapsy to you, the director of the crisis intervention team project for Dade County. She knew her.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's just, and that just goes to show, this, Bert. I mean, how many first responders out there, brave men and women, everybody's fighting a battle that people don't know about, and especially first responders. And most of us are damn good at just putting on our mask and saying, everything's fine.
Right.
You know what FINE stands for? Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. For many years, I was fine, and I wasn't fine.
Right.
And so I love what you do with the peer support and sitting on the multi-agency stuff, because we need just so much more of that. And first responders, if you're listening out there, don't give up. People love you. People care about you. There's help out there. I'll put some in the show notes, with some help out there, and reach out to Bert. You can reach out to me. Just please do not give up.
Just talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
I just started my own podcast as well.
I want to talk about that.
I got episode 1 in the books. Episode 2 is coming up Tuesday. But at the end of it, I talk about peer support and the phone number, which is on my website as well. And the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. I use both on my website. And I always mention it because, all right, maybe you're not part of Miami-Dade County and you're not sure if you could reach out to us, if you're not in one of the agencies in Dade County, but at least the suicide hotline is there nationally. And so I implore, just like you do, just call somebody.
Yeah, just
don't let it fester. Don't sit on it, because it's only going to get worse. It's never going to get better.
Yeah. And if I could just add something to that, whatever people are struggling with, people have, just like you, I'm not talking about you, Bert. I'm talking about the listener if they're struggling right now. If you think you're the only one that is struggling, that's nobody ever struggled with what you're dealing with right now, you're wrong. Whether it's addiction, whether it's suicidal ideation, whether it's PTSD trauma, people have got treatment for that. They picked up the phone, talked, they're on the road to recovery. You can get past it. Just don't give up.
Right.
So many people care about you.
We've had a lot of my colleagues have committed suicide over the years.
Well, some of mine too, and it's horrible. And I was almost there, brother. And I had to. And you said it, several minutes ago when we were talking. You know what I was so embarrassed about, Bert? You probably know this. My ego and my status, and what are people gonna say about me? Until I said, screw it. I need to do this. I need to put my ego aside. I need to put my fear aside, ego more than anything, and get the help I need. I think that's the biggest thing with a lot of first responders. Of course, they're afraid. There's nothing wrong with being afraid, with reaching out, but people aren't going to judge you. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength to say you're human, to say, I need help. And if people give you shit about reaching out for help, you don't need those people in your life. Plain and simple. That's just my opinion.
100%. And if my buddy Tommy, who's going to be my next guest on Tuesday, he was NYPD for 6 years. He grew up in Brooklyn and then came down and joined us in 1990. So we talk every other day. We're very close. He's another retired sergeant. And we just start talking. We get into it. And then every once in a while, hey, I didn't know that about you. Oh yeah, I thought I told you about that. Oh yeah,
exactly.
And there's nothing embarrassing about it. Little things here, nuance to our friendship. And we met in 2010 when I transferred to his station, and he was another sergeant on the day shift, and we got to meet each other. And the next thing you know, this guy thinks like me. We started getting along really well, and our lieutenant goes, oh, you guys think too much alike. I can't deal with you guys, But we could say anything to each other, and there's no sense of shame, right? And I have other friends and colleagues that I can do that with. Now, I do have a very tight circle, that, so to the civilian listener out there, do I really mean what I'm about to say? Wink, wink. If they called me up and said I need to bury a body, I'll be there. But that's how close we are, right?
Yeah.
But absolutely, you gotta be able to let out whatever it is, because if it stays in there, you're just going to get angrier, or you're going to get more depressed.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's a recipe for disaster.
Let's talk really quick. Let's talk about your book, brother. You read a book, the real greatest show on earth. It's on Amazon. It's gotten great reviews. Talk about that. What made you put? I think every cop has a book in them. What made you write a book?
So I'm gonna ask you this question as a fellow cop. During your career, while you're on patrol, you're meeting people out there, handling calls. Have you had civilians say to you, hey, with everything you've seen and done, you should write a book?
Absolutely. All the time. All the time. It's
in
like
2018, I started thinking about that again. And I said, I need a little challenge. I got to do something here. And there's a backstory to this. I hated school. My mother was a school teacher in Argentina. Then they came to the United States. I'm the eldest in my family. I refused to do all my book reports. Didn't do them. My mother wouldn't let me fail, so she did my book reports for me, so I had something to turn in the next day, right? So what do? I take a career where all I do is write reports. I write incident reports, arrest reports, crash reports, citations, and then as a sergeant, I write administrative reports, right? So now, okay, I'm going to write a book. And I said, okay, I got to give this a try. Now, what does the book have to be about? It's got to be the unfiltered truth of policing in America. And it's got to be a how-to guide for civilians, politicians, the media, and young officers, because there's a lot, I put a lot of wisdom in that book for young officers, right?
Yeah,
Don't do the things that we did. Here are some valuable lessons.
Yeah, here's some learning stuff for you.
Right. So all the good, the bad, and the ugly of our profession is in there. I throw us under the bus when I have to.
There's nothing wrong with that. Accountability.
Right. And I'm not shy about saying the things that we did, especially at the time. You know, that little part we mentioned about the citizens don't want to see the sausage get made.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the other saying that I like to use is swans don't swim in sewers.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want me to get the bad guys, I got to go in the sewer and get dirty.
I got to get a little dirty.
See it. Yes. So just do us a favor. Stay outside. We'll take care of it. Right. Just do this. Right. You're like, okay, he's got the bad guys. They're taking care of the bad guys, but we don't want to see it. And that's exactly the way most of our citizens are. And so it had to be that. And I cover all those different aspects that people may have questions about. Yeah. Starting with my own journey, how I started, how I wanted to be a cop, the academy, like we all have to go through. And then I started picking different topics that I thought were important to our profession. Yeah. All these different things. Like you see a lot of this stuff on TV, but you really don't know how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So it really is the truthful look at our profession. And since I know you agree, a lot of times it's like a circus, hence the title, The Real Greatest Show on Earth, like Ringling Brothers, you know, not the TV fabrication stuff or not the animal circus, but this is really the greatest show.
It is the greatest show on earth, man. And it's not like Groundhog Day, folks, for the non-law enforcement, law and first responder. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get every day. Exactly. It's something different.
Exactly. So that's what it's about.
And so for the listener, it's going to be linked up in the show notes. You can see Sergeant Maverick's, or check out his book on Amazon. Pick it up. Great reviews so far. Let's talk about the podcast really quick. Sergeant Maverick. I love it. I love the name. So there's it's brand new. What first? Where can the listener find it, brother?
Spotify and YouTube.
I love it.
It's called Sergeant Maverick, the podcast, where we cover all things police work, politics, and life. I'm not just going to talk about 100% police work. I'm going to talk about the background of my guests, who they are as a person.
I love it.
I'm going to have firefighters on to talk about their profession and the similarities and differences with ours. I'm going to have family segments like spouses to talk about what it's like to be a spouse of a cop, and then children. Can't wait to have my 3 kids on there and see what they're going to say about dad, right? But I'm going to cover life issues.
I love it.
Investing and taxes. My financial advisor from Wells Fargo will be on. My accountant will be on. So we can talk about how to properly invest, all those things we've done over the years, and then the tax implications on those investments, because I've learned from colleagues, I didn't know I had to pay taxes on that money when I took it out.
Yeah.
And I go, what? What do you mean? So it got me thinking. I got to get Tom on, my accountant,
to
talk about the tax implications, right? Yeah. And then 2 of my doctors are going to come on. I've had some on and off prostate issues, like most of us now that are in our 60s.
Yeah.
My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, has had some prostate issues. But every guy is going to have a prostate issue. So my urologist is going to come on to talk about that, because if you don't get the proper tests early on, you can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then my cardiologist as well, going back to 2015, 2016, some of my colleagues were dropping from heart attacks in their 50s. Yeah.
It's horrible.
So I went to my doctor and I said, I want to go to a cardiologist. What are you feeling? Are you okay? No, I feel fine.
I just want to do a little proactive stuff.
Yes, I want to know what my true cardiac health is like. So I'm good. Calcium score. Those are the 2 words you have to know. That's what tells you exactly how good your cardiac health is. So my cardiologist will come on to talk about those things as well. So I'm going to cover a variety of issues.
I love it, brother. And I love it how, Bert, you said, you're just not going to look. I love war stories just as much as the next cop, but I think it's great that you're covering a wide range because people that come on my show, I've had people that have been in prison, don't necessarily like the cops, but they give a perspective that were, in prison, and it was pretty cool. So I think it's great that you're having all these different perspectives of people on your show, brother. So I mean,
Well, since you told me that you live one county north of me now, since you retired to the free state of Florida, right? And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
push that. So I'll reach out so you can come down and be my guest.
that
Okay.
sounds good, brother.
And we can talk face to face on my little Maverick studio, as we call it here at the house.
I love it.
But it's just, like my buddy Tommy goes, what do I need to practice up on? His story that he gave me for the book, because in the back of the book, I have war stories from a whole bunch of other cops and families. And that I needed to do that to lend legitimacy to all the stories I gave of myself throughout the book. I'm telling your story, Patrick, as well as mine, because we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're not unique.
Yeah.
These things happen to all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Just different versions of it. Maybe sometimes, something very similar, almost exactly the same. So the book is our story as cops. So when I was writing the book, you were on my shoulder writing it with me. And that's what I tell everybody. So to have you on the show also, just talk. I told Tommy, we're just going to talk. I got questions for you. We're just going to open it up. We're going to start with your NYPD career. And then you came down to Metro-Dade. And then we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We're going to get into politics because he and I talk about it all the time.
I love it.
The craziness that's out there.
No, it's perfectly normal.
Exactly.
Sergeant Maverick, man, you are awesome, brother. I thank you so much. Any final word for the listener out there? Where can they find you? We already mentioned Amazon, your book. You mentioned the podcast on Spotify. If people want to reach out to you, brother, what's the easiest
Sergeant
way?
Maverick, the podcast, and you can get me at my new website, sergeantmaverick.com. That's SGTmaverick.com. And you can write to the podcast also, Sergeant Mavs podcast at Gmail. That's SGTMAVS podcast at Gmail. And I invite anybody with comments, criticism, ideas for the show, if you want to be a guest on the show. And as I did in my intro, I did about a 6-minute intro for the series where I said, look, opposing points of view are welcome as well.
Yeah.
We're cops. We love conflict.
Yeah, we love conflict. We run into it.
Exactly.
Sergeant Mav, thank you for being on, brother. You are awesome, my friend. God bless you.
Thank you very much. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. I hope they see you soon, brother. Right down the block from me.
Absolutely. We got to get together.
All right, brother. Take care.
Be safe.